Have the minutes from the previous meetings were okay. I read them, they seem all right to me. Anybody find anything that was erroneous? And I move we accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, you know, we can't discuss the new cases at this meeting.
That is correct. There was a notice issue,
Yeah, there was
so
just,
none of the agenda's been revised. There'll be no new matters on for tonight or for next week.
all right. So we've got all the old ones to discuss. First one is Andrew with Diana Stone, and we have a bunch of stuff from First Coastal that came in a couple of weeks.
Today.
Chick, you have anything to say about that?
Apparently, I talked to a couple of board members and heard that material was submitted. I have not seen it yet. I don't know if there was a glitch with my email, but if someone is able to forward that, I would be happy to take a look. This is one that we've had for quite some time. There have been some concerns expressed, and I think that it's prudent to review the applicant's information. And I'd be happy to come back with a recommendation.
I don't know how new this is. It's dated July 23rd and it was received July 23rd. Didn't we have this at the last meeting?
Yes, it's the First Coastal.
Oh, there's a new letter dated yesterday that was emailed earlier today.
I don't have that
For
one.
some reason, I did not receive that.
I don't have that either. I picked this up this morning. There was nothing else there.
It arrived midday today. It arrived at 9:12.
I just forwarded it to you, Chick.
I was there after that.
And it was Monday, August 17th is the date of the letter.
Do you have it, Julia?
I do.
Does anybody else have it?
Yes, it was
Yes.
emailed
Came
this
from
morning.
Diane.
I don't have it.
So I think it would be wise to take a look at that. We certainly want to look at this very carefully. The applicant has been aware of our discussions as a board and some of the concerns that have been expressed. And, you know, I would really like to look at all of the issues between the properties, potential erosion, the structure in the wetlands, what's requested, and factor in the guidance that the board has given at past meetings with respect to limiting incursions into the wetlands. But as I said, if I just received this material just now, I have not had a chance to review it.
Okay. So what can we do with it? Just adjourn it again for all purposes?
Well, all of these
Or a
are
work
left
session.
open from the last meeting for the next public meeting. They were all adjourned from the last public meeting because of the streaming issue.
But we don't have to do anything with it?
So this will have a public meeting for next Thursday, and if you guys are satisfied and ladies are satisfied at that time, you can close it for decision. But right now, it's still open.
All right, so we'll just leave it the way it is. Right? Right, David?
Yeah, for tonight, yeah, tonight's just the work session. So
We don't need any motions on it or anything?
no.
Okay. Community Baptist Church, I thought we were done with that.
Again, we couldn't close the hearing, couldn't close the record on it. So we'll have a determination for that prior to the next meeting, at which point, it's my understanding, you'll close it and then probably adopt that resolution.
Okay. South Lane Properties, 72 Gin Lane.
At the request of the applicant, we are waiting for a fifth board member.
All right. The East Shore Realty LLC, 145 Cooper's Farm Road. It's the one where they want to add on a room, correct?
And a porch.
And a porch.
We thought they were too aggressive with all these additions.
I think we have to be careful with all these additions that are coming on. You know. We're getting to letting everybody add on, with, you know, don't have a problem.
Mhm.
The whole village will end up being before us. We're just upsetting what the village board has done.
Mhm.
I don't know how the rest of you feel, but that's how I feel. On this application, and on any others, unless they're really minor.
Well, I agree, Kevin, especially pushing out toward the street.
Mhm.
Any other comments on this one?
No, I feel
Can
as
we
though we
ask
had
them
a
to-
thorough discussion at the last meeting.
What was that, Julie?
I said I thought we had a very thorough discussion at the last meeting.
Yeah, I thought we did too. So just leave
I think
it.
we're just caught in this glitch because of what happened with the Zoom meeting and the recording of it at the last meeting. Because it wasn't recorded, we're revisiting at this meeting some of these topics is what I'm recalling about all of it.
Correct. Correct. Any other comments on this application? Anthony Paduano, 137 South Main Street.
This is expanding the garage on a flag lot toward the front, adding a garage bay.
Yeah. You have any comments on it? Pro?
No, I mean, I didn't have a problem with it at all.
I didn't either.
It didn't seem problematic to me either.
Julia?
No, it was fine.
Eleanor W. Cohen, 359 Meadow Lane. I went down to see that. That's one of the most beautiful pieces in the village. The rolling grass, it was really, really pretty. Very pretty. The house is pretty big. I don't know why they want to take it down. I guess they want something bigger. But it was very nice in there. Deer, little pond behind all the foliage, plus the big pond. Very nice.
And there was an additional submission on that,
Today.
3075.
Yep.
Did everybody get that today? I was sent by email, so we'll make sure everybody has that.
I'll have to check and make sure I have it.
Okay.
That did come through on my end.
That did come through?
Yes. Did you want me to make some comments, Kevin, or?
Sure, sure.
Okay, so this has been pending. As you said, Kevin, it's a lovely piece of property on the west side of Halsey Neck Pond. This is one that we discussed quite a bit at the last meeting, and the materials that they submitted included a construction methodology and an updated site plan. There was a little corner of the driveway that was in the wetlands that may have been moved. You may recall we had a pretty substantial discussion about the building envelope. Because there's wetlands on 3 and really almost 4 sides of the property, the setbacks swing into the property, and the applicant designed this to favor putting the sanitary system as far away from wetlands as possible, and then increasing the setbacks of the proposed structure as compared to what currently exists. They've also removed a pretty substantial driveway area from the south side of the property that's near the wetlands as you enter the driveway. And overall, there's a pretty extensive buffer proposed up in that north finger of the property, as well as along Halsey Neck Pond. I have looked at the plan further, and Mark, I think it's okay, but do you want to make a comment about one of the items that we discussed?
Sure. What Chick and I discussed a little bit was if we believe that a buffer zone, a non-fertilization zone, is important for the protection of the wetlands, then it's unclear to me why you wouldn't maintain that 50-foot buffer from the wetlands line throughout the entire perimeter of the property, which this plan does not. You know, Chick and I discussed the possibility that the wetlands buffer, you know, could be wider, but at least 50 feet. But there's several portions around the perimeter where they do not
So,
maintain that 50-foot buffer or create that 50-foot buffer is what I should say.
Is this map
In
visible
addition, if you
on
Yes.
come
screen
down the
sharing mode?
driveway,
Yeah,
Good.
perfect.
if you come down the driveway, there's grass area along the perimeter of the wetlands, which I thought for the protection of the wetlands should be converted to a non-fertilization buffer as well. I don't see why you would need grass, you know, there, which is literally at one point adjacent to a stream. So, you know, I thought that the application would be improved by converting the entire lawn area along the sides of the driveway to non-fertilization buffer.
So if you can see the image, this is the applicant's proposed project. These areas in light green are showing as lawn,
Mhm.
and the wetlands goes almost right up to the driveway with just that lawn strip. The other area that Mark mentioned that we discussed would be to look for expanded buffer in this south portion that would complete a 50-foot buffer from wetlands. And you can see these contours show that they are proposing some grading, but it only goes up to this point. And it does seem as though that buffer could be widened in that area. So I think those are excellent comments. It is a large house. They did provide a comparative table that shows the improvements, but it's also a very sensitive piece of property.
Hey, Chick, it's Dan. I have a question for you.
Yes, Dan.
You were going to look at, you know, they had extensive drainage system for the tennis court, for the septic system, for the house runoff. Did you review that, what they have designed? Is it adequate and will it work? Because I think the water table is pretty high there. And the other was, if they're going to bring in new water and electric from the street, are they going to be coming down that road right away? You know, how are they protecting the wetlands doing that?
So that was one of the comments that we talked about at the last meeting. I'm expecting that the submission today does address construction methodology because the board did address that. I have not had a chance to review the materials that were just submitted today. As far as drainage, they're elevating parts of the site. This is a very complicated plan, but it does show the area where they're elevating the site. And so the proposed dry wells for the house that are shown called out here will be in areas that are elevated and should have adequate depth to groundwater. As far as the proposed pool, I don't have an update on that. If they were adding drainage, I'm sorry, tennis court, so sorry. They are showing this gallery of leaching pools for the tennis court. And I would expect that because it's a gallery of chambers, they are shallow depth chambers, and that it has been designed to allow adequate depth to groundwater. I will look at that just a little bit further. I see they have the groundwater elevation and they're showing the sanitary system. And as I said, I expect that they've provided sufficient depth to groundwater based on those factors, but I can double check that. My expectation is it's okay.
Mhm.
So Chick, just to be clear, as far as our conversation or where I had,
Jay Chick?
Yes, I'm
Second,
here. Chick was talking.
I think that the suggestion that I have is that the applicant come back with a proposal that maintains a 50-foot non-fertilization buffer from every wetlands demarcation around the perimeter of the property.
And
So
also,
it maintains that 50-foot buffer everywhere.
yes, and to address the driveway siding, which would be part of that.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know if someone's on that is listening, but I can certainly make a call.
I do, excuse me, Chick, I do have an attendee on. I was waiting for you guys to finish speaking. John Bennett is here to speak for the application if you're ready for me to let him in.
Well, just one other point, Chick, that let me know if the board finds it important as well. But do we want the applicant to provide fill calculations, how much fill they're adding to the site?
We typically do look for that, and it's often on the site plans. And I see it here under number 7. It has the approximate amount of fill, which is 3,430 cubic yards.
What's your sense of bringing 3,430 cubic yards of fill in?
Well, there are considerations here. As I've mentioned before, this is that very busy plan, but they're not filling extensively throughout the property. I'm sure they're meeting FEMA, and the majority of fill appears to me to be related to this area of the property where they are providing the drainage. I see the sanitary system in this area, but I imagine that was able to be designed so that it complies with depth of groundwater. So I don't see it as substantial or spread out through the property, and it seems to be logical with respect to elevating some drainage areas.
I bring John on.
Happy to.
Okay, what am I doing? I'll start video. There we go. Hi, everyone.
Oh, John.
I'll be quick because I appreciate you letting me comment at the work session. So just echoing what Chick said, the fill is largely driven by providing appropriate depth to groundwater for recharge of both stormwater runoff and wastewater. So it hasn't been very aggressive at all, number one. And I thank Chick for his comments. We'll take a look at tightening up some of the buffers there. And you know, Mark, you're right. There's no need why there needs to be any lawn other than a short transition as you come into the driveway. The one thing I would be remiss not to point out, though, however, is this board has typically looked at buffers from a net point of view, and you have this very significant finger of the property to the north east, which is going to be totally revegetated. That's about 60,000 square feet, almost an acre and a half. So I don't think it's fair, if I may, to have the discussion about buffer depths in a vacuum and not recognize that very significant give back. But we will take your comments back to the applicant, the landscape designer, and the team and see where we can improve along those lines.
Maybe I'll just add, with respect to the fill, it was really impossible to see on the full engineering site plan. But in addition to the fill in this area that supports the dry wells, You can see the contours here. So there is roughly 3 feet of fill in the area for the proposed sanitary system, which is an IA system. So between the two, Mark, you had asked the question, 3,400 cubic yards seems appropriate because it's based on the utilities and systems that are needed for environmental protection.
We lost you, Chick.
Did you lost me?
I hear him.
Okay. So anyway, that's the comment on the fill, that it's for both areas to support depth of groundwater for sanitary and drainage.
Frozen in space here.
That's it. For me, anyway.
John, if you have any questions before next week, please feel free.
Thank you, Chick.
We are looking for maximum environmental protection, and we had talked about this area to the north, which you pointed out. This area definitely could use protection as well. So please-
Okay, that's what we're going. That's where I assumed both your focus and Mark's focus would be. So let's see if we can tighten that up. Bailey's here with me. She's going to write a memo to the client. It's this area to the south, just below the house. Let's see if there's anything we can do there. I assume that's primarily where you folks were talking about. Mark, you and Chick were talking about.
But yeah, that's primary. I didn't know if, I mean, the wetlands line seems to, then go north. So I don't know what can be done as far as the driveway entrance. And I mean, that seems to be the closest distance between structures and wetlands. So I would add that as I guess a question to the consultants for the applicant as to whether there could be buffer created there as well.
Down by the,
I guess the conversation I had with Chick was, if you're creating a buffer, but leaving places where you don't have a buffer, aren't you undermining your efforts?
Not really. If you look at it from a net point of view, look at all the stuff that you did on Agawam.
Share with reception.
I'm sorry. My comment again would
Where did
be.
internet go?
Sorry. Mark, my comment again, I don't know if people can hear me. Hello?
Hold on one second. Kevin, can you hear us or not? Kevin? Hang on, John, I'm sorry. It looks like I lost him. Oh, Kevin, can you hear us?
He looks frozen.
No, he's not. I'm going to mute myself and I can call him, I guess. Kevin, you can't hear us?
I
Is he
can
back?
now. I can hear
Oh.
you.
There we go.
Okay, good,
We
good.
gotcha.
Okay, but you're muted, Kevin, so I'm going to get you off of mute. I don't know why you got muted. Let's just get you off of mute and then,
Yeah, Mark,
John, one more second. Kevin, you got to press the button to unmute. Kevin, can you hear me okay? Kevin? Kevin?
he's got to unmute. He has to unmute.
Yeah, it says ask to unmute, but it's not happening. Kevin? All right, I'm gonna text him.
Now, can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes.
Somebody say something.
Yes, I can hear you, Kevin.
Let's just fatten that out a little bit. That's all.
We've lost John.
Hello.
Hey, John.
Hi. Can people hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
If I may, Mark, I think I know where you want to see this go. So let's see what we can do. Did everybody hear that?
I heard it.
I think it would be
Yes.
nice if we could get back in the boardroom.
It sure would.
Okay. So I have a note on those comments. We do have those 3 documents that were submitted today. It will be reviewed. If a plan can be revised and submitted, that would be great. And we will, I guess, visit this at the hearing next week.
Did we lose Kevin?
I'm trying, guys. I don't see where he went. Hold on one second. I don't have him anymore.
He's not even frozen. He's just gone.
Yeah, he's gone. I can call him, but it's going to take me.
Yeah, we still have a quorum. We can
Okay. Continue on, David, or should I call him and mute and call him?
we can continue while you try and get him back.
Okay.
If the board members are comfortable with that, legally we're fine.
All right, looks like we may be back.
Kevin,
Now we're back. Can everybody hear everybody?
Where'd you go, Kevin?
Can you hear me, Mark?
I can hear you fine.
Yep, we can all hear you.
we hear you.
Good. Chick, you still there?
I am here. I think
David?
we need a,
Yes.
I think we just need a disposition of this as far as the work session. The applicant has our comments.
And Chick, could you take us off of screen sharing as we conclude this one? Perfect. Thank you.
Hello?
Kevin, I think we can all hear you,
The only one
correct?
I can see is myself.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Up at the upper right-hand corner, if you click gallery view, you'll be able to see everybody again.
Hello?
Kevin, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, up in the upper right-hand corner, click on gallery view and you'll be able to see everybody again. Upper right-hand corner, it should say speaker view and gallery view.
Speaker view,
Yep, click on that and it should change it back over.
it's a full screen.
Not the full screen. Right next to that, it should say speaker view or gallery view.
Speaker view,
Yeah, click on that and see what happens. Better? I think he froze, David.
We're comfortable legally proceeding if the board members are comfortable with that, when we get them back, so we
Okay.
can keep on moving.
Okay.
I have very poor audio.
It's Dan anyway.
All right, so are we?
Kevin,
Is
I have
the board
everybody.
good with 3075?
There's David. Says your internet connection is unstable. I'll say so.
What's our next case? Or should we close that for all purposes?
Unstable is a good word for it.
Yeah, we just move on from that for the work session purposes.
Okay. What's the next case, David?
3076 M4950 LLC,
Was that?
950 Meadow Lane. I believe there were submissions by.
We got information from,
We're not getting anywhere here.
that
There
was
were
the
submissions
retaining
by
wall.
Toomey Latham's office as well as from Bennett and Reed.
Chick is now David.
Oh,
The network bandwidth is low is what it's telling us.
Yeah, I think that's probably just your connection at the moment. I'm seeing and hearing everybody else. No problems.
I can see Chick and I can see myself. That's it.
I can
that's
see
what I
here.
see. I see
Kevin.
me and I see Chick. That's all I see. You also, and I have very poor audio.
Okay, I can see and hear everybody.
There's not much I can do, you guys. I think it's your own internet access. I'm hearing and seeing everyone as well.
Julia, are you there? Can you see and hear everybody?
And
You're muted, Julia.
I'm sorry. I
There
can
you go.
see and hear everyone just fine.
Okay,
Yep,
so
you're
let's-
coming through 100
And
on my
Dan, if
end.
you need to, you can come down the street.
So are we
So-
moving on to 3076? 950 Meadow Lane?
Except for, interestingly, the letter that arrived today is 450 Meadow Lane.
But the true address is
As
950.
opposed to 950 Meadow Lane. I saw that. We got Mark back.
So that letter from today was really just a breakdown of the fill material. This is the one on the south side of Meadow Lane with a small on-site wetlands and a tennis court in the northwest part of the property. The applicant was moving the existing driveway to the east. And because the retaining walls are considered structures and within the 150 feet, that was one area that some level of
This is getting us nowhere.
balancing is needed.
There's somebody's
Everybody keeps
background noise
breaking
I
up.
can hear over Chick.
Does someone have family in the next room?
Yeah,
Because
I
that's
can
where
hear
the
a
noise is
conversation
coming
going
from.
on in the background.
It's quiet here.
I'm all alone, so it's not here.
Me too.
I guess that did it, Kevin.
Oh. Think that was the cause of all this internet problems?
No, but I think that may be the
Wish it was that
background.
easy.
Go ahead, Chick. We
All right.
interrupted you.
Okay, so as I said, this was the one that has the wetlands on the north part of the property. There's a tennis court in the northwest part of the property. I can share my screen if that is helpful to show that.
Sure.
All right,
It's not working too well. Give me a second.
we got the graphics back.
Good, Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay. Trouble getting this all into view. We'll try again. Okay, so this is the site. We had asked for drainage for the tennis court, and I believe that has been provided. This is the one where this will become an extensive buffer area with a landscape plan that was prepared by Aris Design. This driveway, currently closer to wetlands, is being relocated to the east so that this will all be a buffer area. The structure proper meets the 150-foot setback, but there are some retaining walls within the 150-foot area. The 125-foot landscape setback is being retained, except that the tennis court is within that area as an existing condition. So we had looked at additional drainage for that. and to see if additional offsetting buffer could be provided. Everything is north of the coastal erosion hazard area. And they are proposing the house within that envelope that's framed out by those constraints. So they did, the applicant sent in fill calculations today to show the breakdown on fill. And you have that in your files. The existing structure does go south of the coastal erosion hazard area, so that's being pulled back. And as I said, one of the offsetting factors is the relocation of this driveway. So we can certainly discuss this further as you see fit. But that's a summary of where we are.
Okay.
It's a little,
So Chick,
but the Aris design,
on,
I'll just say,
overall, this
Go ahead.
plan compared to what was there to what's going to be there now, is this put this property in a better position in regards to the wetlands than the previous house?
I would say for the most part it does. Having drainage for the pool is a good feature. Removing the driveway that runs in this area provides a much larger contiguous wetland buffer area than what currently exists. And then certainly not as part of the wetland consideration, but having all of that structure north of the coastal erosion hazard area
Now we're
line,
back.
removing that is beneficial.
So my concern, Dan, is that the amount of fill being brought onto this property is excessive. And in contrast with the prior application we just discussed, the addition of the fill, and Chick, you can weigh in on this, seems less, if not completely unrelated to solving environmental concerns. It just seems that it's the preference of the applicant to have their residents higher. And the amount of fill, if I read Sawyer's calculations, is 8,000 yards of fill. Regardless of where exactly the fill is being dropped, on the plan itself that was submitted, doesn't it say 8,000 yards of fill?
I had looked for that, Mark, and had not found it.
I sent it to you in an email today.
Yeah. Yes.
I just took a photo of it and sent it to you. But it's on their plans.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. That is different than what we are told in the letter that we received. So we should get clarification on that, certainly.
Correct. So
Check, another point, a lot of these houses are made being much taller because of the FEMA regulations, so they're raising them up.
Right.
And then to solve that height problem, all they do is just keep trucking and fill in underneath these raised up houses. I think that's what Mark was referring to, is the amount of fill that has to be brought in because these houses now have raised up so high because of the FEMA regulations. You know, there should be some alternatives to this other than just fill.
Yes, I understand. I understand that point. So as it relates to a wetland permit, if they have all structures outside of 150, they would essentially conform. In other words, the house is outside of 150, but the retaining walls, which are structures, are within.
Right.
So that would be one question that the board could ask the applicant to look at, would be removing the structures from the 150 feet. And that potentially could reduce the amount of fill. Other than that, it's really outside the jurisdiction under Chapter 116.
So is the question then to the applicant, can you show us a plan that does not require an east-west retaining wall?
That's essentially what I'm saying. For
Yep.
fitting it within the Chapter 116 parameters that we have to work with, that's the exact question, Mark.
I do have John Bennett here to speak if you would like to ask him any questions.
I'm having a great deal of problems hearing what's going on. Is that true for everybody, or is it just true for me?
No,
Just-
I'm having trouble also.
Well, I can hear both of you right now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but sometimes you come in and sometimes you go out.
Oh.
But for your point, Mark, if you're saying that they're going to have 8,000 yards of fill, that's like 400 truckloads of fill. They got to bring in there 20-yard truckloads, coming down Dune Road. That's falling in a lot of fill.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Dan.
So that
we can-
calculation is on sheet L200 of the Sawyer-Burson plans. L200.
Okay, Kevin, I don't know if there's more, or we should just leave it as asking the applicant to show us a plan without the east-west retaining wall. Does anybody else have any comments?
I don't. Antoinette, is Mr. Bennett asking to speak?
His hand is up, so I think he probably has something that he'd like to say. But that's up to you guys because it is a work session, and if you guys don't have any questions for him, then you decide.
Kevin, can you hear us okay? Kevin?
I think it's you and I,
I have a
Mark.
problem with my internet connection. That's why you people are all breaking up. It's not your fault. I think it's mine.
Yeah, because I can hear you.
Kevin, do you want to extend the courtesy of asking John Bennett to
My computer
join?
is telling me that my connection is unstable.
And Antoinette, if John wants to speak, and if we don't have anything more to say, sure, why not?
Okay, I'm gonna let him on. Give me 1 second. Okay, John.
Check if it's, oh, perfect.
Must have read your mind.
Okay, John, you're all set.
Hello?
Yep.
Zero fill in the 125-foot setback, 980 cubic yards in the 150, most of which is for drainage and providing the appropriate separation between groundwater and the drainage structures. number one. That 8,000 foot, that 8,000, whatever the matter is, we're taking out an existing structure that's sitting in a dune area. The overwhelming majority of that is for dune restoration. And yes, we are putting fill underneath the house, but if you look back, and I've been extremely involved in this over the course of this, that's in the village of Southampton, unlike every other municipality, and this came out of different pieces of litigation and then legislation. That's been what everybody up and down Meadow Lane and Gin Lane has done, okay? And that would be going contrary to the policy of this municipality for probably 40 years. We don't like to see houses, particularly when there's no wetlands impact, and particularly when there's no FEMA impact, because you're gonna have it up in the air, okay? That just sit up in the air. So the large majority, overwhelming majority of that fill, probably over, in the quick calculations, over 90% of it is totally outside of your wetlands jurisdiction. And we were very, very, very responsible about that. Remember what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with a tiny little wetlands pocket, which is not anything like Meadow Lane. It's got some groundsel bush in it. It's got some rush in it, but it's a tiny wetlands pocket with no buffer whatsoever. And we're giving you, in effect, a 125-foot buffer. So to ask someone to take these retaining walls out of this project would be totally unparalleled to the way you've treated these applications on already developed properties. Not even mentioning the fact that you've got, you know, viewed from an overall point of view, you're taking all of this habitable space out of the coastal erosion hazard line, north of it all. So again, you're looking at this stuff in a vacuum, number one. And number two, you're talking about areas of fill that are outside of your wetlands jurisdiction. And to ask this person, I'm not going to submit an application that takes this retaining wall out of the 125. This is a cramped site. We're doing the best we can. We're providing significant beneficial effects on this tiny little pocket. Chick, you may not remember this, but the westerly pocket, you know, when we were in the field, you were sort of scratching your head whether or not to even, you know, mark it as such. And I said, you know what, let's not even have any doubts about it. Just put it in there. We're going to buffer all around it anyway. So who cares? So it's sort of like a good deal, no good deed goes unpunished. You have to look at this in the totality. It's an excellent plan. And the fact that we're asking for a little bit of hardened structures to provide some parking, which we're going to fully drain, the fact that we're taking everything back behind the coastal erosion hazard law, the fact that you have no buffer whatsoever. I mean, you've approved numerous properties with existing structures all up and down the village with 50 feet of buffer. We're going to give you 125. So no, I'm not going to give you a program that takes that retaining wall away, because that would be unreasonable.
Okay.
And if you look at the history of how the village has treated all these properties, both from a FEMA point of view, a fill point of view, allowing structures on an already developed site, and, you know, maximizing buffers where they can, this is an excellent plan. This is better than most plans I've seen.
This is a photograph. This is an aerial photograph of the existing conditions. And so those wetlands pockets, there's one in this area and there's one in this area.
Mhm.
So there isn't lawn to the north now, but they are relocating the driveway to the east. And the ARIS design plan has inventoried all of the vegetation in this area and is supplementing it with a new landscape plan. And this shows the coastal erosion hazard area line and the structures that are to the north of that. So just for context of the existing conditions, I thought this would be helpful.
I mean, this is the sort of site redevelopment that you should encourage. It comes much, 1,000% more into conformance with existing modern, regulations, does away with numerous nonconformities. But, as always, it's a horse trade. You have to give back. I mean, why would somebody do all this stuff unless they were getting what amounts to a more favorable living area? I think this is a fantastic plan. They're over 30 years of presenting applications before this board. This is one of the more, really aggressive buffers, aggressive plan, moving stuff out of both the wetlands area, the coastal erosion area, providing active buffers, draining a tennis court that is probably just draining into that is probably it. The road and the tennis court are probably what's creating that little wetlands area. I mean, let's face it, these wetlands areas on the south of Meadow Lane, with the exception of some of them that are further down the road that are on the DEC freshwater wetlands maps, are probably really just features of the fact that, that the road was elevated in the 80s. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them. So that wetland is being which is on the northwest corner of the tennis court, is probably being created and irrigated by the runoff. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when we actually drain the tennis court. You could take, anyone who marks these wetlands in the field will tell you that you'll have some, you can find groundsel bush, which is a wetland indicator, way up the site, and next to it will be an irrigation system. So I can go on and on about this, but I think from a totality, this is the type of plan that you should encourage. And what's this tiny give back? The tiny give back for all the stuff we're doing is some structure within the 125 feet, and most of which is, none of it's habitable. It's all for parking. It's fully drained. And that's all because the site is squeezed. And because we didn't come and ask for a variance from the coastal erosion hazard line to leave some of the structures south of it, as many as you've oftentimes granted. We said, let's get it all out of there.
Okay, John, we get it. Can we save the rest for the public meeting? And can we go back to the work session?
Your meeting.
Anybody hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you, Kevin.
I don't think anybody can hear me.
The only thing I do want to add is that I did not receive. I did not receive anything from Toomey Latham, which is sad because I always make sure that if I'm submitting something, I give it to the applicant's lawyer. But in any event, I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
It does say that it was copied to you.
That's
I can forward it to you.
Okay. How did they copy it? By Yak?
I don't know. It just says CC. I'll forward it to you, John.
Okay. Thank you, David.
No problem.
David, I did not receive that. If you're forwarding.
Yep, I will add you to the list.
Thank you.
David, can I just ask you, who are they saying they're representing?
They're representing the
Meadow Lane Ventures LLC, 930 Meadow Lane.
That's the neighbor to the east. Okay, thank you.
So this will come up at the public hearing.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So we're ready to close this for all purposes for tonight? And move on to the next case?
I don't think we can.
We can't?
Well, it's not closed. We're just moving on in the work session. They're still open for public comment at the next meeting.
Okay.
Chick, the other thing I think it would be helpful for us to see, which I didn't see in the plan submitted, is I thought we wanted to see elevations to show how they are complying with FEMA. Because if I understand it correctly, they're raising the house, the first floor higher than necessary for FEMA, which may be contributing to why they need as much fill as they do. But I think when everybody reads the letter from the neighbor, they also have concerns about the amount of fill being brought into the property. And I think it would be helpful for everybody to see those elevations, and also a pyramid law elevation. Chick, do you think you could request that, or how do we get across to them that we would need that for the public meeting to?
Well, as you know, John is here. I've been focused on the wetland permit aspects and not looking to cross over into building department aspects. But I think, Mark, your point is that if they're raising the elevation of the house more than it needs to be, it may be contributing to those retaining walls closer to 150 feet. So it does seem relevant, and we certainly would look for the applicant to address that. If you're, let me just see, I'm looking through the whole Aris design package.
Or just so you know, John did put his hand back up. So if you do want me to let him in, just let me know.
And I think we've lost Kevin.
Julia, can you invite Kevin over as well to share your excellent internet service?
Yeah. I'm not, Dan, can you even hear me? Yeah.
Everybody's going in and out. I hear half of what's being said.
Well, I mean it, Dan. If you want to come down the street, you're welcome to.
Oh. But I'm not in my village house now. I'm in my shop for the summer. So if I was in my village house, it'd probably be working great.
Yeah. Are we prepared to move on to the next case?
Sure, let's go.
Okay, so the next item that we have is John and Cheryl Ward at 1421 Meadow Lane.
That's the Bayfront house.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
this is the house that is just at the northwest corner of Meadow Lane and Road D.
Oh, right.
They had been in for permits before. There were some changes to a prior permit that was issued. I did not have any notes for the applicant to submit anything additional after the last meeting.
Right.
And it seemed as though the requested changes were almost a wash with what the original permit granted. I don't know if anyone has any other recollection or other notes, but we did not receive any resubmission materials. And I think we talked about this at the hearing, that we weren't able to really take action at. But I don't see anything outstanding on this matter.
That is actually my recollection as well.
So it's up on the screen. As I said, the prior permit, the wetlands were reflagged in February of 2020. The configuration of those wetlands changed a little, and they actually extended farther along Road D. But in terms of a balance for the original permit, what's requested, this being reasonable in my estimation, and again, there were no outstanding questions. If you would like, we can entertain moving forward with this. I'd want some direction on that.
That would be fine with me, Chick.
Fine with me also, Chick.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it'd be good to get
Three.
something done. So I will draft a permit. Sorry. I will draft a permit for next Thursday's meeting.
I believe wasn't there a neighbor who was gonna go look at plans? I thought there was.
There was a neighbor. There was a neighbor.
Yeah.
There was a
That he
neighbor who
has-
came and appeared
So
Yeah, I
since
know he was
they're
going to
closed-
reach out to Mr. Loga, from what I recall. So,
That's right.
they may
Oh, the
come-
neighbor across the street. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So they may come to the hearing. In any event, we can be prepared one way or the other.
Agreed.
Are we ready to move forward?
What's next?
What is next is 109 Hampton Road, BHNH LLC, which was the parking for the laundromat. And I think the only reason that we continued the discussion was because of our inability to tape the last work session.
No, hold on,
No,
Julie.
public
I think
hearing.
No, we're
Hampton Road is the
3-0.
historic house on the corner of Elm and Hampton Road, I think.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
correct, Mark.
But I think we were all in agreement. We were all in agreement on this one, though, aren't we? That they're fine for adding the spaces?
I think
No,
so.
no, Dan, that was approved at the last work session. We're not, the laundromat's done.
Okay.
So just
But-
take it off the agenda?
It's
I had
not on my
misspoke.
agenda, or on the
Dan,
revised
I
agenda that was
misspoke.
sent out.
I misidentified the property.
No
I thought it
problem.
was the laundromat, but in fact, it's the house on Elm and Hampton that we're talking about.
The house where?
At the corner of Elm and Hampton Road.
Oh, okay, yeah, the front, that old house right on the corner they want to renovate.
Right,
Had 2 front yards.
correct.
So they weren't going to build on the second floor. They were going to expand the first floor instead. Which
Because
is,
they thought the main building might be unstable for an additional floor.
So is the lot coverage okay?
yes. I don't think they had a lot coverage issue, and I don't think they had a GFA issue. No,
Parking,
I'm
is
sorry.
parking okay?
I think it was it the lot coverage issue? I think it was. Because that was the request for the variance, wasn't it, Dan?
That's what I'm not, I don't have that folder out in front of me.
I do have an applicant that is here, Eric Amesian, if you would like to hear, or if you had any questions.
Certainly.
Okay, Eric, you should be in a second. There he is. Eric, I just need you to unmute and put on your video, please. You're upside down for some reason. There we go.
Oh, my.
Okay.
That was good.
Rick.
Okay.
We don't have a traditional lot issue, but there's a section 1168 saying if it's
That's the first floor.
if it's a 2-story building, the first floor can only be 2,000 square feet. And we're over that by 162 feet. Because the second floor is quite small, and it's actually kind of termed 1.5 stories. So we were hoping to get a variance to add that extra 162 square feet in the back on the first story. And the second variance is a relief from section 116.5 on Elm Street, the front yard. We're actually building on the setback, within the setback, but it's behind an existing structure, so you won't see that from the street. It's building off from the back of an old studio garage that's there.
Dan, can you hear us okay?
I lost part of that. Is the parking okay on this?
Is the parking okay?
I believe the parking's okay. We're actually keeping the existing parking. We can push back, we're gonna push back a little bit from what it is now, but we're not changing the parking lot.
Now, how many bedrooms and how many spaces do you have?
We have 4 bedrooms and 3 spaces. We're not increasing the bedrooms from the existing.
And you're keeping the same amount of parking?
We are, yes.
Hey, Mark, what do you think? I don't think this is a stretch, do you?
No, no, I'm fine with it. I like the plan.
That's sort of my general feeling also.
Julia, what do you think?
I've had no issue with it. After the last presentation, I felt like we had settled where we were about it.
Eric, we'll see you at the public meeting.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for your time.
So I'm about to tell you the next one, which I think is, one second.
I have it here if you'd like me to read it.
Oh, it's the Felix and Elizabeth Rohatyn Trust at 365 and 385 South Main Street.
Did we lose Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin is gone.
Yeah.
We lost him about 15 minutes ago.
Okay, this was the 2 non-conforming lots held in common ownership.
Correct.
So I mean, I didn't see any other way of looking at this other than the fact that the lots have merged. They're in common ownership. I don't think there's a factual question that they're in common ownership. And it actually looks to me like they are being used in common ownership. There's one pool, there's a pathway from one property to the other to use the pool. There's accessory structures that overlap the 2 properties. So I saw this as relatively clear. Does anybody see it differently?
No, I don't see it differently.
So what do they want to do? Refresh me now. They want to take the one that merged and then unmerge them so there'd be 2 lots again?
Correct.
Is that what they want to do?
Yes.
But they've blended both of these lots so much together now, it doesn't seem like it's that easy to do.
I mean, I think their best case is to apply to another board for a subdivision. And David, I mean, you know, do you see it any other way?
No, and I don't. I agree with you, and I believe the applicant's attorney said she was going to be putting in a more significant memorandum, trying to outline the law to persuade the board otherwise.
But we haven't seen anything yet.
Not that I've seen, no. And I don't know if Miss Riley is on tonight or not.
No, she is not.
No, because I think as we
Yeah, I
discussed,
don't think we're ready to,
the decision that she cited
I
to
don't
as
think we're ready to wave a magic wand and join these lots together again.
David, you were saying?
I was saying that the application that she cited to in her prior submission was actually exactly what Mark is recommending. The board, in that case, granted lot area variances to re-subdivide a property that had merged as part of a actual application to the planning board for a subdivision. So the prior precedent seems on the board side here as well for not granting a variance for unmerger and having them go through the proper channels with the planning board.
Okay.
Sounds good to
What's
me.
next?
I think we're ready to move on.
What's the next one?
It's the next and
412 First
last,
Neck Lane.
which was the garage.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it was Blue Haven. And at the time, my recollection is that as a board, we thought that the plans had been sensitively drawn and that they were the best solution given the property. That is my recollection of it.
Right. And Gil had mentioned that the neighbors had no objection.
Right, I think there's some sort of common ownership with with this property.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, are you okay with 412 First Neck?
I am.
Okay. I mean, so am I. I'm fine.
Well, with that, we have gone through the agenda that we are capable of going through this evening.
Sorry to interrupt. I know we're winding up. I just have one really quick thing.
Sure.
I think we skipped over the pending decision. And I will have a decision for next week's meeting on 500 Captain's Neck Lane. That was just a landscape plan. We'd asked for a little bit more information. The applicant submitted it, and there were no outstanding questions. So I just wanted to make note of that because I don't remember if we discussed that.
No,
I
we
don't
had
believe
not.
we did.
And the Joyce Trust, we're also waiting on a fifth board member for that. So there won't be a decision on that.
But there will be on 3073 for just wetlands. Okay,
Good.
okay.
Thank you, everybody.
So we have a motion to adjourn the meeting or?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thanks, everybody. Second.
Thank you.
All in
All in
favor?
favor is aye.
Have a great day.
Aye and aye.
Sounds
Thank you.
official.
Bye.
Take care.